Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another episode of A Girl Like Me Live. I'm so happy to be here today with Alyssa and Heather. I'll let them introduce themselves in just a moment, but just welcome again to A Girl Like Me Live. We are on episode 33, which is an episode, sorry for the noise in my background, which is an episode that's focused on the value of community and advocacy and how important it is when it comes to parenting with HIV. And these two ladies just hold such a special place in my heart when I think of what it means to parent when living with HIV. So I just feel like extremely honored to have y'all here and so excited to see where this conversation is going to take us today. I am Ciarra Covin. I'm the director of programs here at the Project, and A Girl Like Me Live being one of those programs. We just gonna get right into it. So you can both take a moment to introduce yourself. Right.
Oh, hi, everybody. Thank you, Sierra, for inviting me. I am honored to be here. I look up to both you and Heather. So I'm just really excited, to be a part of this platform. I love the Well Project. It is a great, resourceful tool for the community. And I've been following your work and everything from the beginning. And again, I'm just very happy to be here. I'm honored to be here, actually. Thank you.
Thanks, Alyssa. Thanks, Cece. My name is Heather O'Connor. I use she, they pronouns. I am a person and a mother living with HIV. And also super, super thankful to be here. Thanks for having me. I always tell anyone that I speak to about my diagnosis that one of the first things I did was after being diagnosed and like getting online and just like Googling was Find the Well Project, and just being able to like see and experience like other people's like self-identifying women living with HIV, their lives, and the fact that they were like they're doing it and like have space to have community and share their experiences was affirming for me and got me by. Help me through it. And yeah, I love Alyssa and I love Cece, and I'm just excited to be here with y'all. I'm excited to get down to whatever we're getting down to.
So like I said, we're just gonna jump in. So like we've already heard community and support in our introductions. Like how has this community supported you, and like, do you see your pregnancies or motherhood being any different without the community? I'm gonna start calling on folks.
Do that. Please.
Alyssa, you look like you went through it.
Okay, so community is vital. I think so. Without this community, I'm not sure if as many personal strides would have been accomplished. And then not only that, each one teach one. So I know at some point, one of my sisters said I gave them strength, but I was able to, double back and circle back around and gain strength from her story. So, like for mothers living with HIV, such as myself, supportive networks, meaning having a safe space to share experiences, ask questions, and receive both emotional and practical support, it's a big deal. Personally, connecting with other mothers has helped me navigate not just healthcare, but also everyday challenges of parenting. And so, one thing I really love about the Well Project is it is a collective of like it's just this umbrella of support. You have your educational resources, and the educational resources um, are facts, pull evidence-based, research-based facts from these highly credible sources, such as the CDC, the World Health Organization, WHO, um, NIH, Health and Human Services, things like that. Lactation consultants, mothers and parents who also have the same lived experience, who are experiencing things that you are not only curious about, things that you may not have gotten a chance to do that you want to be a part of, such as, breast or chest feeding. And it's just like a whole cohesive support network. And I just really appreciate that. And again, that's very vital.
Yeah, because like when I had my first child, that was back in 2010. And that was like 2 years into my diagnosis. And I wasn't really sure what to expect. Like I was still young and this first child and HIV, like I didn't know. So I was just really leaning on my providers and doctors around me to tell me what to expect. So like it was different with Zuri in 2021 because I had other women, and I'm now not a new mom anymore. I feel like I know what I'm doing, but I had other women to go in and really advocate for myself. Like I got to look at Heather's experience and be like, no, I want that for myself too.
Mm-hmm.
Alyssa, how did you get that? You know, and if I only had my providers or my doctors to lean on, then I might not have known what all of my possibilities were when it came to, having kids or, deciding how I was going to feed those kids. So I really, really appreciated y'all. And I still do. I still do.
Likewise.
Like, so you, I think we try to like differentiate all the time. Like all of these experiences by themselves can be hard as hell. And then when we add HIV to it, it makes it harder. So like parenting with HIV, like what are some misconceptions that you think folks on the outside have about parenting with HIV? I think they think it's so different, and it is, and certain things that we have to think about, but what are some common misconceptions?
I'm about to be real transparent about everything going on right now. I have both of my children home right now because I can't afford childcare because childcare is too expensive to afford in this country. And so if you hear yelling in the background, that's just them, like, peacefully loving each other right now. Yeah. So I think the misconception about parenting with HIV is the fact that I think it's honestly the biggest thing is like the stigma of it, right? Because people are not talking about HIV. People are not educated about HIV in general. And so this big, like HIV is such a big thing. Like I can't tell you the amount of times that I've been in a position where I've disclosed my status to someone. And for me, it's like this is my life. And then like Alyssa, as a lifetime survivor, like I'm sure like it's been your experience in your life for so long, and it's just like I'm telling you my truth, and then like what comes back at me is almost like, oh shit, like I have to comfort you for a second, you know what I mean? And so like anytime HIV gets brought into a situation, into a conversation about anything, I think it's the stigma part of it, and it's the lack of education. If we're talking about giving birth in general, why would you ever expose your child to HIV? Well, I'm not, I'm not. You equals you. Let's have a conversation about it. Let's like open the floor for us to talk about these things. And so I think that's the biggest disconnect. Like I don't know. I'm separated now, but when I would talk with my ex about his perception of like being with someone or like, uh, procreating with someone living with HIV, largely his response would be, folks assume that he was also positive and that my kids were also positive, and also that brings me back to a space where when I was being diagnosed in 2016 and I first heard the words, you are HIV positive, like, was I much different from that? Because my first thought was like, damn, I'm going to die. Like this is it. This is done. You know what I mean? And so like, yeah, I've just been really committing myself to having conversations and just being real and talking about it. You know what I mean? And like when I met with ignorance from other people about the HIV, or when the tone of the conversation like changes a little bit, then well, no, like, let's talk about it. Like, what questions do you have? I'll tell you if a question makes me feel uncomfortable, but like, I'll open the space and make it safe for both of us to just go back and forth. And a lot of the times, when you make that safe space for someone else to share with you and to have that exchange, they share things that you wouldn't expect of them either. So I think like stigma is just probably the biggest one because, other than that, like health is hard and everything, but, yeah, like having to navigate all of the misinformation that goes on and the judgment that comes with that, on top of the fact that like we're constantly thinking, am I doing a good job? Like, am I being a good parent? Did I make the right choice? Like, and there's so much guilt that comes along with like everything, and we come from like an era, I mean, like, of, you know, if you're crying, like, I'll give you something to cry about, you know what I mean? And we're trying to unlearn all of that trauma and go back into it and like reassess and re-navigate and create all of these different avenues. And so really like HIV is out here and that's part of it, but it's like, like, so is all of this. You know what I mean? That was a little abstract of an answer, but
Oh, that was very clear, girl. I have check marks all by your name. Like, go ahead.
What about you, Alyssa? Like, what type of misconceptions? What do you think are
Oh,
biggest ones?
um, is that okay? Misconceptions about parenting HIV is that it can't be done. So that goes into like Heather's point of stigma and stigma. Up until this morning, and I always like I know it's there. It's nothing that I need to realize again, but it's just sometimes you have like these cues that stick out that really like reminds you yet again that it persists. So people are still, and like I said, I just got reminded of this morning that people are still living in outdated misconceptions and going based off misinformation and information again from the 90s, from the early 2000s, um, and they're just living in that. Like Heather said, I prefer you ask questions. Come to me with questions so I can, I can give you the appropriate answers. I can give you like the resources and things like that, like either get to know me, I just welcome understanding. Understanding is a gift. Not everyone has it, but if you are open to understanding, then you could open yourself up to learning. And once you know better, you do better. So the misconceptions about HIV and parenting, other than it can't be done, okay, a lot of people believe that, but then there's a lot of people that know it can be done. So then we take it a step further where, okay, you might have to do, can you even have unprotected sex? Like, it's not like it is a turkey baster situation. People are not even realize, do not know about you equals you. Like again, Heather, you said that people think that your partner may be positive. I've had that same, that same stigma before in relationships that I was in, and not us self-stigmatizing ourselves, but like the world, or more so people who are close with us, like their family members. Does your children have it? That's always a common answer. So we can't even really even get into the surface. We can't even scratch the surface of breastfeeding HIV. We have to think about the possibility of C-sections, which again, you equals you is not only for sex, it's for childbearing too. But again, the misconceptions, the outdated stereotypes, and the misinformation is still out there and it's heavy. And that's what stigma is rooted in. And so it really goes into not only someone living with HIV, but someone parenting with HIV. And now that we're getting older, because it's no longer a death sentence, people are not even considering the fact that we are aging with HIV and things that may come with that. So unfortunately, when it comes to HIV, there are still a lot of misconceptions, a lot of people who are still living in looking at the person as simply being HIV positive, the disease itself, versus the actual person in their lifestyle. So that is a barrier that we have been that we need to break. That is something that we are actively working to dismantle. Thanks to Ciarra, thanks to Heather, thanks to Aisha, Portia. It's just so many beautiful advocates out there and entities that support these advocates that are truly breaking the mold. And there's a lot of work to be done, but there's a lot of progress that has been made. So I'm very hopeful.
It's so much going on over here. Thank you. If you hear an echo, you can mute when you're not talking. Brandon, chill. Thank you for joining us, Winona. I saw Bridget's comment about why you got. Well, isn't it crazy how you got to make place safe for other folks when you're talking about HIV? This one, isn't it wild to have to create a safe space for someone not living with HIV just to talk about it? Brandon comment threw me off. I'm over here fighting off flies. Yes, Alyssa, can you? Are you muted now? I can't hear you now. Okay. And he said sorry. And I wanted to address the piece about you equals you because I feel like you equals you is so very important. So for people that are watching that may not know what you equals you is undetectable equals untransmittable. So what they saw is that if you were undetectable, you was taking treatment, your virus gets to undetectable, that there is a 0% chance that you would be able to transmit HIV sexually. Why? So it hasn't reached the other areas of like childbirth and breastfeeding and all of those things yet, but we're like crossing our fingers and being really hopeful because yeah, if I can have sex with somebody, I'm protected and I'm undetectable and I can't transmit it. I know that was the first thought in my head, and that means that everything's all good, but they're very clear that it means through sex. So that makes me feel good. But I've also gotten that same thing where people just assume that, the people that have been inside of my body are positive, including the spouse and the children. And they do stuff like me and Kim, one of our community advisory board members, we was talking about this the other day. Like when people say, well, are the kids okay? Like you know exactly what they want to ask, but they're like, are the kids okay? Yes, my kids are not living with HIV. We were able to get them here negative, and I like to see the surprise on a lot of people's face sometimes because I don't think that people think that women living with HIV can have babies that are not living with HIV. So don't think that they think that they're with that we are having sex, which is a whole other topic in itself. So there's a lot of education that can stand to happen, on all different levels. Um, so like I heard a resource because I'm already answering this question already. Like, what types of resources could women living with HIV benefit from? Heather, you pointed out childcare. I think that's mothers across the board.
Yeah. So like childcare, my current situation right now, I'm like, so I'm working like 3 jobs, like part-time jobs from home, which like, thank God I'm able to do it from home. That's great. But like, yeah, childcare is expensive. And then like my son, his birthday is October 2nd. He's going to be 5 years old on October 2nd. I know it's insane. It's wild to me. What is time? And yeah, to be in kindergarten, you have to be 5 by September 30th. 31st. Are there 31 days in September? Do we know that answer? I don't know. What one of those. But Zephyr, his birthday is October 2nd. They don't make exceptions. So he can't start kindergarten. So I have to pay for another year of childcare. And it's just like that part, like, you think, I don't know, like my dad's 89, right? He just turned 89. And so many times he's been like, yo, like, you are so lucky to be like making the amount of money you're making. I'm like, are we factoring in the cost of living? Are we factoring in like childcare, cost of groceries, like everything that's going into it? Like, babe, like I look at my paycheck and literally it's like, do, like, you don't even, and then like what money goes, you know what I mean? And then, so it's so totally inaccessible. And then just like the amount of anxiety, like this summer, like I said, it was like $500 a week to send 2 children to childcare over the summer in Lexington, Virginia, which is like a rural area. So like in the city, in Philly, like can't even imagine. Like I can't even begin to fathom what that would cost. But like, yeah, I'm living in this like little apartment. There's not very much space. And so like when I have to like work, you know, it's like, all right, here's your snackies, here's like your drawing pad. And it's like the pressure, like, all right, I don't want my kids in front of a screen all day. Like I want them to have an activity. And so then there's the added pressure of like, it's summertime and I feel guilty because I can't send my kids to summer camp, and all the kids who are going are like going to the aquarium and like going to the park and doing all this stuff. And like my kids are at home, you know? And so I'm like, all right, every day we're going to do something like fun in nature. Cause that's the one thing, like, I don't love where I live. Like I'm here, not by choice, right? Because of circumstances that led up to this, but I live around a lot of trees and like nature and stuff. So I'm like, well, we're going to go outside and we're just going to like go on an adventure. But like, factor in like working all day long, trying to manage like their bodies being fed and happy and not in front of a screen, and like trying to like, you know, make sure that they are getting some sort of mental stimulation that's not just like brain rot, like YouTube videos that are literally made from like adults to like like the crap. I don't know if you've ever seen like Squid Games is literally like it's a show for adults. Well, they make children videos and put them like on YouTube talking about it and stuff. And like, yeah. And it's so trying to like prevent your kids from like all of that stuff and give them what they need. But then like, we're going to go on a trip after this, after work. And then, you know, like if you're managing like health issues, like talk about it, like perimenopause, right? That's happening for a lot of like AFAB folks living with HIV at a really early age. And that's rough. And factor in health on top of that. Like I literally the last 2 days I have done nothing but like lay in bed because my body just shut down, and it was like, no, like, no, like I would get up out of bed and yeah. And then like I have POTS and Ehlers-Danlos, so like other chronic illnesses, and my heart would race and I'm like, I'm gonna pass out, you know? And my body literally was like, sis, like, you know, like you need to like lay and just not exist for a little bit. And the amount of pressure that we have to put on ourselves to try and do everything like as well as we possibly can, and the fact that we live in a society that literally like measures our self-worth based upon like our own self-productivity. Like, what do you bring to the table? Like, what can you do for me? You know what I mean? And we're not asking like, what do you need? What's up? How you feeling? Right? And so that's where community comes back in, because that's when we're texting each other like, oh, like it's not going well, like it's not going well, and we make space for that, you know. So I already forgot the question, but it's childcare.
And you
I think you answered it.
Talking about resources that mothers living with HIV could use, and we pointed out that, you know, parents period could benefit from child care. Talking about how expensive it is. Maybe it's not what you're talking about down in Lexington, but the daycare we had Zuri at, she come home singing Sexy Red because this is what I could afford. You know what I'm talking about? Hands on your knees. We don't listen to hands on your knees at home. So what I had access to, you know, is that. So what other resources do you feel like, you know, mothers living with HIV could benefit from?
Well, I live in rural Florida in Tallahassee, and what I'm seeing across the whole board as it pertains to rural or undeveloped areas are, you know, the same barriers. You know, childcare is just everywhere, you know, even at metropolitan areas. But then like here, transportation is a major issue, you know, and mental health services or access to them, as well as dental services, housing, women's care, and like Heather was saying, respite care for us. Where's our respite care? Where's our respite spaces? And then it also made me think about the support that these EHE prioritized areas are getting, and how we are kind of, you know, those who are not the EHE prioritized areas, how it feels like we're forgotten about. You know, we're not getting the funding, you know, we're not getting anything towards HOPWA or assistance or anything like that. Like those numbers, huge difference. So EHE is the HIV epidemic. It is an initiative by the CDC. And they have prioritized areas where they allocate a lot of funding to, or a staggering amount compared to what those areas are not getting funding for. So here in Tallahassee, we might get, if we're signed up for, I'm not going to get into it. I just know, like, listen, we do not get anything close to support services here. And I'm speaking from a person living with HIV. I'm not trying to down talk the area that I stay in or the entities that support us, but it's hard. It's hard everywhere, but especially like in these, what feels like forgotten about spaces. So we're left struggling on top of what we're already struggling with on a day-to-day basis, being a mother, aging with HIV, being a parent, being a human being, even with or without HIV, childcare, and its expenses is not just limited to those with HIV. Like that is just hard all across around. But then when you add HIV to the pot, that's what makes the gravy thick, you know. So yeah. Also, when it came to like the U equals U, touching back on UCC about the U equals U, and how it's only limited to sex, it is. But remember when U equals U before it came out, for those who was positive for some time, we kind of already, had this, U equals U was just like the the title, like the name, the expression, the crown. Here, you get, it was just one of those. But it's like we already knew. Like we knew we were not infecting our partners. We knew that, babies were still being born without the virus if the mother is under a certain threshold, virally speaking. And, then they just came out with the actual, title. I feel like we're back in that space right there. I think we're still in the before the title era comes out, because with all this research and the research that's continuing, although we do have some pauses in certain places nationally and internationally, I think we're just we're at the brink of it. I think we may just be in like that research time where everything's still like on the hush hush, but I know it's coming because U equals U. I really believe that U equals U is going to be extended to child rearing or childbirthing at some point because we already know. And again, before the title came out, we were still there where we still already knew.
Collecting
But yeah.
data.
That, hey, MS, right? Well, that's a whole nother rabbit hole, but yes.
Um, what Nona's comment was real good because she said that's why she love these clinics because it's a one-stop shop. Think every state should have one. It's the clinic I've been in since my diagnosis. I have my specialist who's also my primary, my therapist, and mental health providers, dental pharmacy, and social services are all in one location. Love those type of places.
What area is she?
She's somewhere over there. She said, when I know it's like over there on the map. When I lived in Atlanta, having all my providers spread out was very discouraging and had me out of care time from time due to transportation or appointment time. Absolutely. It was after like motherhood totally disrupted my care. Totally. Like I just remember yesterday, I had to look on the calendar one day this week. Like I had a primary care appointment. I've never had a primary care doctor. They've always been my HIV doctor and everything. But the moment that I decided that I wanted to feed my baby one type of way, it got me kicked out of that. And I had to now go. It felt like at the restaurant where you piecing together all your healthcare, that a la carte menu. I feel like that's and that's just with my healthcare. And as I care for my dad, and I have 2 children, and I provide support to other family members. So like all of that, managing all of that, it becomes heavy sometimes. I find myself advocating in every single appointment I go into. It don't matter if it's for me, if it's for the kids, if it's for the parents. Like I'm always having to, hey y'all, did y'all even ask them this? What is this? What are we doing? Because I see so often we just like slid through appointments, and I get it. Everybody busy. but it's hard. Like when you're trying to manage so much. Okay.
Yeah.
So Winona was saying that the clinic, she's in Colorado now, but the clinics are here, Wisconsin, Texas, Missouri, and I think the others in Hey Maria.
Very
Oh,
good. Thank
okay. I
you.
just feel like I just got off of a box. Y'all have anything else y'all want to add, or we can move on in the conversation?
Um, when I was listening to you, both you ladies, it just kind of dawned on me, and I know this is not really in support services, or maybe, but I find it interesting that all of us are or have taken care of a parent, because all of us from this space right here has taken care of our father. You get what I'm saying? And then that goes into HIV and aging. Not only are we're parents, but we're caregivers. And those are two separate things. Yeah, as a parent, you're a caregiver, but a caregiver, like we are taking care of our elder parents, our elder, those who took care of us at some point. And I think that's not discussed at all. So that adds on a whole it just adds on another, set of weights onto our workload, because taking care of a child versus taking care of an elder, they're similar, but they're still completely different, especially if your parent may suffer from dementia, maybe a terminal illness, cancer, like it's just, it just adds so much more water to the bucket, and it makes the workload heavier. And again, I guess it does go back to the resource. Where's our respite care? And then also the resources that's out there for us, how accessible are they? How plentiful are they for us? Again, in these rural areas, it's like clawing our way to some type of service. Like, under our Hopwood grant, I'm only able to get, far as a utility assistance, or anyone here, if you need a utility assistance, you can get one HOPA assistance once a year. And it's not like they're paying for the utilities. Is if you have an out-of-pocket expense that was an out-of-pocket medical expense, that out-of-pocket medical expense, and there's one more, if you lost income, that whatever that amount is, that can be equated to your utility bill. So, for example, I had an out-of-pocket medical expense that was $40. They're going to reimburse that $40 to utilities. My utilities is not $40, okay? And that $40 reimbursement is, just once a year. What is that? Like, I know there's places who actually will help with this. It's just, I'm just trying to give that, small, brief example. But yeah.
It's so much. It's so
That's
much.
what, like,
Go
I
ahead.
just real quick, like, but like that $40, right? Like, how much time did you have to spend doing paperwork for that to like get that damn $40, right? Like, and how much time do you have to be doing that? None.
That's gas money to and from the appointment, to and from there to fill out the paperwork. Like $40, it was so insulting. And it just feels like in these areas where, or entities who offer little support, or may not even get the necessary assistance to support us, to us it feels, can I use the word insulting?
Yes.
It's just it's no help, I will say that.
Yes. Yeah. No, the past few days, like, someone will send me a message to my phone, and I literally, like, I look at my phone and I'm like, and I just, like, the capacity that I have to be able to, like, make words on the screen and, like, speak to a human being, or, like, pick up the phone and, like, make, like, I don't have it. I don't have it. And it's like, if we're being real about it, like, yeah, dissociation is like a real thing. And like trauma, like living in like a place coming from trauma, like that's a real thing. And when you get to that point where like dissociation is just like, that's where we go, because that's what the body does to try and continue to move forward and like make it happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to do the paperwork. I'm not. I have a thing. I went through a red light apparently when I was like half asleep, like, when I was coming home from a community convening for work. It's still sitting there. I still owe the money. You know what I mean? But like,
Mhm.
do I have the capacity to pick that up and like type in the URL and then go to the thing and figure out how to like work your little system to like pay my $50 for like going through no, I don't. I don't,
Mhm.
you know.
And then by the time you get back to it, it's gonna be 125.
I know, I
Yeah.
know, I know,
Mhm.
I know.
And if
And
you don't pay, it's going to become $500
that
because now
part.
you have to reinstate your license.
Hmm.
You know,
And
like life
that's in
is.
my brain right here. It's right there, and it's saying over and over, Heather, Heather, that damn bill, girl. But it's like my child's hungry and calling mama, and like also I have a deadline to meet, and also like, yeah, today is I gotta pay rent. So like, what
So what
harm
I'm
reduction
seeing and
baby?
I'm getting from this is like the fact that sometimes advocacy for our own selves looks like this is just like being
Yeah,
transparent and open. So as community, then as friends, as sisters, if you need to lean on any of us, if you need to take a picture and just send it and have one of us just pay the bill. You know that is there. The
yeah,
same way that you called Philadelphia for me so that I could get access to my care that I needed to keep moving on. Sometimes we have the light to be able to share to
yeah.
others, and sometimes we depend on the light of others to help us on our way. So I hear all of it, and I thank you for feeling safe enough to share this on this private platform.
Girl, it's fine. They gonna find me somehow. So, gosh, okay.
But thank you. I just really appreciate both of y'all. Winona, your fingers is over there going. Let me get this comment. Don't take it away. I think there should be programs like they have at mental health institutions for heroes, which are veterans, teachers, and healthcare providers for us who deal with terminal illnesses and still have to push forward through life because Social Security Services considers us body able unless we are dying literally. Yeah, I was
Mhm.
looking at Social Security description of HIV and disability this morning, which is true. And I also feel like Masanya Trailer, another what do we call her? Emerta? I don't know how to pronounce that word, but she used to be on the cab. And she says like they don't treat HIV as a trauma. And like I started processing it after I heard her say that. Like, what if HIV, getting that diagnosis or living with HIV was seen as a trauma? Would it be cared for differently? Like, would we immediately be given mental health services because we're now dealing with a virus such as this one? Um, and I think for me, it gets really I don't know, scary isn't the word that I want to use, but uncertain. When we see everything going on in our own personal the political climate that we got going on right now and seeing how much money is being taken away from certain areas is like, dang, yeah, we need this stuff. We've been needed this other stuff, but now y'all taking money from stuff we also need. So
Mhm.
like that uncertainty sometimes, and I depend on their treatment and their care to keep me alive for my children. If I didn't feel like I could stay alive, my life could have went different. So now
Mhm.
that stuff is like right in front of our faces, like being threatened and seeing that they would really do that to people, like it just make me it's uncertain. I ain't scared, but I just think I ain't as confident as I was a few years ago.
Mhm. Um, the way I've been looking at this whole climate, and this is just me trying to look at it from an optimistic lens. I don't think it's optimistic. I think it's more so trying to look at like more strategically, right? Like just seeing like what's going on. And I'm just considering this time that we have right now. I'm looking at it as a cocoon phase, right? We're gonna go home, we're gonna go and we're gonna hibernate and we're gonna pop out stronger, and better than before, you know, um, because I know this can't last and I know this too shall pass, but I definitely see exactly what you're saying, Ciarra. But um, uh, somebody mentioned mental health, and one thing I gather from that, mental health, um, I feel like it's been weaponized. You know, um, it's hard to be honest in conventional um, offices, conventional clinics. Like when you're honest with these practitioners, you run the risk of Baker Act, you know. So and then on if you're a parent, you run the risk of CPS getting involved because you're unfit to care for your child, you know, and then that opens up another can of worms because if you get another call, you know, then you got to move to case management. It's just a lot. It's a lot. And your honesty, centering your mental health and what you're legit going through, it can be weaponized. And so, you not being in a space where you really feel like you can be as transparent, that is harm. You know, so I'm not sure what revamped system that needs to take place here in America and maybe abroad, because this is actually happening abroad. It may be its own way elsewhere, but it definitely is a serious thing here in the States. And it's unfortunate that the systems that's in place that's supposed to be there for to protect people who are having these crises um, is penalizing them, for their honesty and everything like that. I really believe that there needs to be HIV specific mental health counseling and therapists. Um, but yeah, I have yet to find a HIV specific therapist, someone who specializes in the trauma of those living with HIV. But we need them. So if you're listening, we need you.
I always feel like with a new therapist, I gotta go in and teach them about HIV first, and
Absolutely.
like I don't feel like it because now I just don't feel like I feel like I had one therapist before that understood that, but no, I this conversation could go so many different ways. Krista's comment about the lack of bodily autonomy and the lack of care for both children and mothers is just beyond absolutely. Um, I'm thinking about we have stayed, in this space, but I want to talk more about like in what ways have you found joy? Like it's so many things that are not like joyous. But like
Hmm.
what ways have you found joys despite these challenges?
Hmm. Well, for myself, I I have increased my faith, just, like being more faith centered, and whatever that may be, whatever your belief in a higher power is, and you tap into that because the universe is real and there are universal laws that are out there, whether you're an atheist or not. I actually have a friend who's an atheist who, once he came across this realization of universal laws, he took it serious. Your children, the little things, the things that they say are free, they are definitely worthy to be looking into or looking up to as far as joy goes. Um, some things I really like to do, but they cost money, So I just really appreciate the experience that I have had. And I plan for when I'm going to be able to get those experiences again. I don't fantasize, but I love to plan because again, like the hardship, this too will pass. So I find joy in knowing where I will be one day, like manifesting how I will be one day, manifesting what I want and just gaining that a larger house, living abroad, peace, everlasting joy, like just enjoying that. And then I also have little ones too. So like their innocence, that brings me so much joy. And again, getting past this era, right? Whatever this funk is, getting past it, that brings me so much joy. Because again, I know this too shall pass.
I know that's right over there sounding like a senator. Looking.
I love it.
What about you?
I think like my joy has been coming from affirming reactions to me living as my authentic self, like through my kids. So like, for example, like I am a very queer person, but I never knew that because I was like, I went to Catholic school. Like I did, I just, and just society, the way society just like set things up for me, like I didn't, sex in general was taboo for me. And so like my queer identity felt taboo because it was attached to that sort of. So it's like, oh Lord, like I can't I can't tell anyone I like girls. You know what I mean? Like that's like, it felt very big for me. But being immersed in HIV community allowed for me to have space to explore that part of my identity and to love that part of myself and just be like, yeah, like that's you. That's great, you know? And I want that so badly for my kids. I want space for them to be exactly who they want to be, as long as it's rooted in kindness. Like that's where you need to be. And so all of that, like the queer community, I've like really leaned into that. And I love drag. Like drag is like my happy place. Like when I was raising my babies, when they would not sleep at night, like we were up and we were bouncing in the boba watching RuPaul. Like that's what we were doing until 3:00 in the morning. And like that's what brought me joy and brought me happiness. And like, yeah. And so all of the things about like drag and just like this like larger than life like celebration of like trans and queer folks, and just being like having space to just be like whoever the hell you want to be, and like being celebrated for that, and like having all of that like positive energy like be put into it, like it spoke to me and it was beautiful to me, right? And so yeah, I've always like been really into drag. And this past weekend I was able to bring my kids to their first drag show and like listen, and it was just the way their like face lit up, and like when they saw like what I was seeing. And I'm just like, yeah, because I trained in dance my whole life, you know, performing arts, it speaks to me, but the dance world, no, not so much, you know, but drag, yes. And so it would just like seeing that joy. And like the first time Aurora like handed some money to a drag queen, she's like, Mom, and I'm like, yes, bitch, I know, like it's magic, girl, like it's magic. And that's what it feels like to me, is just like love and being held. And like we don't, like that's so scarce in today's society. And so just to see that, and my kids like on their faces, and like to have them talk about it, and for them to play like a chaperone song and Aurora be like, Mom, it's Pink Pony Club, we know this, you know. And it's like, yeah, it was just like extremely affirming. And yeah, before we went, we like started watching RuPaul again just so that we could like get back into the swing of it. And Aurora just like from her soul turns over and goes, Mama, you're already a drag queen. And I'm like, listen, if I don't hear a single thing for the rest of the week, like I'm putting I'm like bundling it up and putting it right in my heart. And like, that's what's leading me forward. So just, yeah, moments like that are like, you know, I co-sleep with my kids, and I moved into this apartment. I thought that I got cool bunk beds for them. Like I had some friends that helped me to, you know, put some money towards that. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to get them in their own beds, but like, we're still co-sleeping. And it is what it is. And like, whatever. But the funny shit they say in their sleep, like Aurora just like rolls over and is like, Mom, when's the iPhone 15 coming out? I'm like, what, girl? Like, what are you talking about? And it's like tomorrow, when I'm stressed out because like I can't make words to like finish a deadline at work, I'm gonna think about that and I'm gonna start laughing, and that's gonna like make me feel better, and then I can keep going. So it's just it's just like little things like that, just like pocket them, put them in your fanny pack, and like save them for later, you know.
So I got this running notes in my phone of the funny things that they say. I used to write them down when Zion was younger, but because I need to remember those things.
Yes.
Like the joy, they definitely like. While my children can be a source of, they're not like the thing. I'm gonna be nice with my words. They don't make me the happiest all of the time.
Like if you hear Mama one more time.
Yes. Like, can I please just get a moment? Like, yes. I love y'all, but I just need a moment. Yes. They also bring me so much joy. Like it's hard to explain if you've never experienced it. Like, I wouldn't get this shit up for nothing in the world, but I also need a break.
Yeah.
I'm learning all types of stuff. Like she has everything. We looking up. I love that she knows that Google is a resource. Like she can research things. How do flowers grow? So like we're watching videos on flowers grow, and do caterpillars have eyes? let's look up whether caterpillars have eyes. Like, so it's kind of hard to stay like mad or upset or annoyed. You're learning so many things that you never even know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that does bring me joy. I do love being able to like curate minds and like have them think and expose
Mm-hmm.
them to different things. I absolutely get a joy no matter how much I feel like I know myself to be able to offer them. This has been a learning experience for us all, you know. Kept them alive for 14 and 3 years. Think I'm doing pretty good.
Yes.
Think we're doing good.
Yeah.
Yes, Krista, I love both of your responses on what brings you joy. It's so important to remember these amongst all the doom scrolling. And that's what I lean for y'all on. Like, Alyssa, thank you. I needed that positive spin today. You know, this too shall pass because it's easy for me to get into my thoughts and let them spin. Then I could link up with some other folks that could let them spin. But part of community day with a light that I needed. And thank you, Heather, for being so open and transparent.
Transparent.
Um, because you're not alone. You
Mm-hmm.
not
Yeah.
alone. There's so
Mhm.
many of us. Womanhood, parenthood, living in the hood, all of this shit is hard, you know. And so being able to share those experiences with people that actually get it, like, thank you. I what aspirations do you have for the future regarding community support and advocacy for like families like ours? Like what would you like to see? I know it's a dream of mine to be able to see our types of families come together. I do that sort of thing here in Philly, like get us together and go to water parks because we need that. Maybe it's not HIV that we need to talk about today. It's just like freaking life.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you think?
I think that like more intentional spaces for us to come together and enjoy ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like just like live and like enjoy each other and like something that has been coming up for me just like over and over recently is just like the power of storytelling and the healing nature of storytelling. Like once you get to a space where you're able to like speak your truth out loud, and maybe it's part of the reason why I am so transparent and things just kind of like fly out of my mouth is because like I do think that there's a part of me that's like scabbed over and healed from it. And so I'm not re-traumatizing myself every single time. And so maybe that's the disconnect of like, oh, like I'm disclosing my status and someone's like having a big reaction to that. And it's like, it's flowing from me. Like it's
Mhm.
flowing from my body because it's my truth, you know? But you do like, I think, get to a space eventually where like those words can leave your mouth, and like if you are supported by a community of safe people who are surrounding you with love and acceptance rather than like waiting to meet you with opposition, then that I really think it starts to heal you like from the inside out, even if it's just a little bit, you know, because I truly believe like trauma lives in the body, like it buries itself like in these little pockets inside the body and it stays there, you know, and it manifests in all of these different ways. But being able to like just externalize your truth into a space and be met with like, I hear you and I'm here, and like be met with safety. It's like teaching your brain and your body like safety is possible. Safety is
Mm-hmm.
possible and support is possible. And so then that's a new experience that you can like store and keep and then move forward knowing like this happened once so it can happen again. And that's what I think needs to happen for, you know, parents living with HIV in our community is more of that, more of those opportunities.
I wanna I see the comment about our survey. Please take a moment to fill out this survey. This just lets us know that we are responding to the needs of the community, that we are, you know, we're able to hear from you and that we can respond to that. So we can't do that without you talking to us through the survey. So we really appreciate it. And Alyssa, I do want you to answer this question about like the future regarding community for families like ours. And I think that you've created a really powerful tool for like families like ours. So I would like for you to take a moment to even talk about your IDT and
Oh, thank you. Definitely so. Just piggybacking on What Heather was saying, the body, I'm reading this book called The Body Keeps the Score. And you do? Are you reading it or have you read it?
That's literally where my words came from. I just finished it.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yo,
I
that's
did the audiobook, but yes, all of it.
yo, insane. In sync. Wow. Beautiful. Okay. Universal laws. Okay. Okay, I'm done. Okay, but yeah, definitely. Great book. Please, anyone, I encourage you all to read it. It's an excellent book. The Body Keeps the Score, and it just really confirms everything that Heather was saying. And yeah, so basically, I did create this toolkit. I call it the Informed Decision Making Toolkit, and it is for parents, birthing parents who would like to breastfeed. And learn how to properly advocate for the right to do so, while also teaching the physician and the care team how breastfeeding can be done legally and safely. That is what the IDT is. It's a dual teaching apparatus, again, to teach the patient how to advocate for their right to do so, or at least bring up the conversation to their provider. And then also, again, teach the clinician and help the clinician support a yes for a cohesive shared decision making. It comprises of WHO recommendations, CDC recommendations, NIH, the Department of Health and Human Services, expert insight, as well as medical documentation to support the medical criteria for breastfeeding. It is free, it's available, and I used it when I was pregnant. And once my child tested out, then in a, with the encouragement of some fellow advocates, it made me go further and say, since I use this for me, imagine how many other parents might can benefit from this. So it is available, it is here, it is finished, the Informed Decision Making Toolkit. And yes, I appreciate my original pediatrician and my ID clinician, Dr. Anna Puga, for encouraging me and informing me that I even had a choice to do that. But this IDT, in addition to the medical advancements in HIV science, care, and prevention and maternal health, autonomy has been achieved and is achievable for those living with HIV. You can thrive with it. Us three ladies are examples of it. And yeah,
Look at us advocating for ourselves and leaning on community and like
exactly.
mothering and working and doing
Mhm.
like, and we're still here and we're able to pull smiles from somewhere. Like,
Yes.
Mhm.
look at
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, congratulations. Look at you. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, like I don't know where the idea came from when I was pregnant. Oh, actually, I wasn't able to breastfeed my child um in the hospital with my first child.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
once I got pregnant again, I was determined to give my child her first feeding. And so throughout my pregnancy, I created this. And then like I said, I just wanted to scale it across the, border just for other parents experiencing what I experienced at some point, because it can be done. And breastfeeding, living with HIV, to some degree, we do or we have felt inadequacy, so the idea to be able to nurture your child how you would like, being able to birth your kid how you would like, even if plans change, that not only helps with your maternal health, your mental health, your postpartum, but it also validates your personal autonomy. So yeah, breast and chest feeding is possible while living with HIV, for sure.
Yes.
I
Okay.
love it. And I wouldn't have known about that if it wasn't for y'all. Cause that was so like y'all literally, when I say y'all, is you two amongst the other women that I have met throughout this journey. Like y'all have really changed my life for the better. Like I don't feel so alone. I don't feel that isolation. I feel good. We've
And
come
that goes back to
okay,
mhm.
where
I
it
was just saying, it just goes back to community. It's like we are the community. We have formed community out of a space of emptiness. We it's like we turned stigma, the S on stigma, we turned it upside down, and we just create that space for ourselves. And I love that because Cece, you say that, again, you gain, some type of strength or encouragement or whatever, from me. But I turn that around and say, I got that from you.
Mhm.
Like it's like we have formed this bond and we play hot potato with support. And I think that's just what community is, and I love it. And I'm happy to be a part of it.
Same.
Oh, thank y'all. This is a virtual hug.
I know, right?
We're at the top of our hour. I want to say thank y'all. Thank you all who have joined from whichever platform you have joined from. Thank you for being here with us today. Join us for episode 34, which is going to be in August, and that's going to be like a physical activity episode. I'm really excited.
Oh.
It's already on the page, so look out for that. But thank you. Don't forget to fill out the survey. And with all of that, we are done. Thank y'all.